Hello everyone and welcome to our first show about the environment. As we know, the world urgently needs to change the way it produces and consumes food. This is why reports such as creating a sustainable food future have been created. In this report, they define three specific challenges that we are facing in our food production system. And the first problem is food supply. The second is land use. And the third is greenhouse gas emissions. And to solve them, they present a menu divided in 5 solutions that have to be implemented. The first solution is reduce growth in demand for food and other agricultural products. The second is increase the food production without expanding agricultural land. The third is protect and restore natural ecosystems and limit agricultural land shifting. The fourth, increase fish supply. Fifth, reduce greenhouse gas emissions from agricultural production. And in this show today we have three very special guests that are going to talk about some very interesting topics. The first guest is going to talk us about the farm structures, property rights, and contractual arrangements from a sustainable point of view. The second is going to talk about carbon pricing and financing climate smart agriculture. The third is going to talk about research and development of sustainable practices. So we're going to start off with our first guest, Laura, who is an expert in the roles of the large and small farms and is going to tell us about the possible future changes in the distribution of land and how it can help us have a more sustainable food production. Please give a warm welcome to our first guest, Laura.
Hi Miguel, how are you today?
Very well, thanks. Happy that you're here with us. Laura, for your interview, we're going to ask you some questions from the audience. And the first question is, how can productivity be boosted and poverty reduced?
Okay, first of all, we need to increase the productivity of rural areas because in that way, higher rural incomes will depend on smallholder farms. So we need to give farmers greater security to invest in producing marketable products where they have a comparative advantage, securing their land right, and rectifying historical disadvantages confronting women farmers.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, the second question is from Alfonso, who asks, what difficulties do smallholders face?
Okay, very interesting question. Smallholders face real obstacles in the form of limited access to capital to improve productivity, difficulties in meeting the strict sanitary and quality standards required by supermarket chains, and poverty traps that force farmers to sell critical assets in difficult times. So these are some of the problems that they have to face.
Okay, so we're going to continue with the question of Emmanuel Flores. He says, smallholders are most affected by government laws. That only favors large producers. So could you mention what tools and contracting procedures can policymakers provide to help the million of smallholders cope with the disadvantage that presents this size?
Okay. Well, some of the traditional tools involve three kinds of contractual mechanics. First, farmer cooperatives, through which farmers collectively own and run distribution facilities and import suppliers. The second is contract farmers, in which farmers agree to produce specific crops for future delivery at a set price and often receive assistance to do so. And the last one is magnet farms, which typically involve contract farming around the central large farm. Although these three mechanics differ in detail, each involve an operational entity that works with smallholder farmers to increase access to inputs, expertise, and credit, or to process and distribute the final product.
Thank you. Finally, we have Fernando Tati's question. And he asks, one of the problems producers face is large land acquisitions that often involve land it's not intensively cultivated. So could you mention a way to remediate this situation?
Okay. In this point, it's very important that the governments should establish legal frameworks and basic social security systems that advance towards more equitable and secure property rights, as well as law that make it easier for small farmers to produce high-value cash crops through contract or cooperative farming.
Very good. Well, with this we finish our first block, and I would like to thank Laura for answering these questions.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you. So we're going on a small break, and we're going to discuss some show business news, but stay tuned, because when we're back, we're going to have our second guest.
This week took place the Food Safety Week in Mexico, and because of the world's situation, it was made online, but it mostly definitely had some great webinars. Did you attend any of them? Tell us on the comments below.
So we're back on the show, and next we have Anel, who, as we already have mentioned, she's an expert, and she's an expert when it comes to sustainability and food production and how to make it available for the world population. So please give a welcome ovation to our second guest, Anel.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Anel, tell us about what the carbon tax is.
Well, how do you know carbon dioxide is the main cause of the greenhouse effect and consequence of global warming of the planet? Therefore, all the efforts made to reduce its emission and to reach balance between production and emission of these gases are essential, so that the growth of this concentration in the atmosphere stops, returning to equilibrium in the gas cycle. Carbon that is precisely one of the main objectives on the sustainability. So the carbon tax on the carbon emission drug a tax rate on the carbon dioxide content of the fossil fuels.
Thank you. So next we have a question that is from the audience, and is from Poncho. He asks, one way that the agricultural sector reduces its carbon emission is that other users pay them. What is the benefit of these uses?
The credits that they call use the offset or cancel their own emissions at the lower cost than any action they could take in their own operations.
Okay, so now could you please tell us about what's the environmental mitigation?
All right, Mike. Can I tell you, Mike? Right?
Yes.
Well, mitigation consists of reducing the intensity and extent of environment impact, but many times we confuse it with prevention, and this is to prevent environment impact from occurring.
Very good. So, Anel, I would like to finish with this question. Can you talk us about the problem of aid with subsidies for fertilizers, and why does Africa not live with them?
Farmers spend more money unnecessary using this, and it does not help reduce emissions from the use fertilizers. And Africa is a very poor continent, so the government cannot finance them. But lately in Malawi there was a shortage of food, so the government had to keep, but the success in Malawi was so great in the production of corn that new they have begun to support other countries in Africa.
Well, thank you for coming. And I don't think you heard me, but I told you you can call me whatever you want, dear. So thank you, Anel. And now we're going for our third guest. But first, we have some commercial, so stay tuned.
You're welcome, Mike. Thank you for inviting me.
Our favorite show couple is getting married. Nodelli is officially having a happy ever after story as they are going to have a wedding very soon. Stay tuned to this channel for coverage of the whole event live.
We are back, and we want to thank to all the viewers that stayed for the last topic. This is a very interesting and relevant topic. So for this, please welcome our very special guest, Lisette, who I forgot to say is the leader of the Department of Funding in the University of Apidae. Welcome, Lisette.
Happy to be here.
Awesome having you here, Liz. So we want to begin this interview by asking you, why do you think research is important? And please tell us about the role of financing in research.
As we know, the research has established a need to overcome the obstacles to achievement and sustainable food future. A fundamental part is the financing to carry or research to apply new technological advance.
Oh, wow, that's unbelievable. Could you tell us about funding in agriculture?
Science funding for the agriculture, research and development has grown. However, this is no the current low lives of research suggests to the new investment has good potential to produce him returns.
Now, could you please tell us about the positive impact that funding has in this area?
Funding for the area could carry out strategies to reduce or interrupt periods of flooding, reduce emission, reduce the water use and increase yields.
Okay, so now can you tell us about what countries are doing to keep on investigating, and what are countries and companies investigating in?
Various countries tend to World Bank agriculture loans, the constant and increment growth of crop and livestock yields, and the recent improvement in inputs efficiency in development countries reflect the continued development of richer of the wide range of new sense, new data and new management technology. Companies are investigation a variety of compounds, such and spray on fields that the ability bacterial growth and the whole water.
And to finish the interview, can you tell us how are these efforts are going to change our day-to-day life?
By shifting a healthy and more sustainability This taught the development of inexpensive plant-based products that mimic the taste, texture, and experiment of the consuming beef or milk.
Well, thank you for answering our questions, Liz. And with this, we finish our show. And I want to say this have been a really great, wonderful show. Thank you all of our guests, and thank you to the audience for sticking to the last of it. And we want to remind you in the audience that every little action counts, and there is a lot that we can do for our planet. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.